Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Let's Talk, where I will be sharing my testimony on things that I had to endure and overcome from a young child until present. And you guys will see how God has been and is still elevating my life from them times until now. And so let's get into volume 10, part 1. What I did not mention in volume 9 is when just before I moved back to my guardian this second time from my dad, due to circumstances that was causing my mental state to be at jeopardy, right? And then my mom was adamant that, she's moving me back to where I am comfortable, and she was in the middle of filing for us to move to the UK as well. But just before we go into that aspect, I wanted to highlight something that occurred as well during that time whilst I was still living with my dad and still going through the motion of moving back to my guardian. What had happened was I was caught by one of my uncles by my dad's side. So that's my dad's brother. My first true love was caught in the room that I was in at the boarding quarters at my dad's business place. So somebody had seen when he snuck in and then told my uncle, and my uncle came knocking on the door. This time it was bedtime. Everyone was going home. The shops and all the business places was being locked up, and my dad's yard man was helping to close up everything as he always does. And he's always on our little secret with both myself and my first true love. So he knew that the guy had snuck in. He knows already because that's our plan, right? But somebody else had seen this happened and told my uncle. Now my uncle came, and it was like about 11 o'clock at night, close to midnight. He came and was knocking on the door because I had locked up now and everything in the house, in the boarding quarters. And then I'm wondering, who is this knocking? Then when I looked through the window, I saw it was my uncle. I thought he was just coming to, say good night or something, but I should have known because the way he was knocking, it was angry. So went out there and he was like, who coming here? Who coming here? And I was thinking, what are you talking about? So then he looked around, he looked underneath the bed, and he saw my first true love underneath the bed. Now, he didn't say nothing at that time. He let it slide for a little second. Then he started raising his voice. So at this point, I'm trying to keep him calm so that, nobody else hears, because that uncle was very loud and he liked to be heard. So I was trying to keep him low so that he doesn't raise no alarm and then cause more people to get involved into the situation. Because remember, I'm in my dad's territory. So you know what that is. It's not like I'm in my guardian's territory where no one really knows me as such. But I'm in my dad's territory. Everybody knows me, right? So I had to be mindful, and the least little thing will go to my dad's ear. But the worst person to ever see this was my uncle. So you will see why it was the worst thing. Now, my uncle used this as a bribing tactic so that I was able to give him things from my dad's business place. So remember, my dad owns his grocery supermarket that, was facilitating the community. And so my uncle used that situation as a bribe so that I could give him his regular grocery shopping. So he didn't have to spend any money. All he had to do was to remind me of that scenario every chance he got so that I could pack up his box. Because in Jamaica, if you purchase a lot of groceries and you don't want excessive bags, you would take it in like a box, like a carton box. So yes, he had his big carton box that I had to pack up his groceries in, and he will have his list, or he will come in and tell me, okay, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. Mind you, he's not paying for it. It was just the bribe. Obviously, I'm in the hot seat at this point, and I do not want my secret to be let out, because I know how my dad would have reacted, and I would not be sitting here right now. So obviously, I would do everything to keep him hush hush. Yes. So this was one of the bribe tactic that he used in this case scenario. Yeah, this went on for months. And each time, like if if I see him coming, I would get like irritated because I'm thinking, you keep coming to take out stocks from the shop and all of that. But what had happened is my dad used to leave me money so that if I need anything, I can always purchase it. So what I realized I had to be doing, so everything that he took, I had to replace that with my own money that my dad gave me to last me for sometimes a week. Yep. And it was like really unfair, but at the time it was anything for him to be hush hush. You know what I mean? Because my stepmom at the time, she would check stocks. So if the stocks is not adding up, where is the money gone? Where is the stocks gone? You know what I mean? This is how the business would keep afloat, which that's just business. So what had happened is I had to take my own money that my dad had issued me. And sometimes I was wondering, so why is your money finishing so quick when, you know, you're not supposed to? But I think he wasn't clocking it at the time that, you know, something seems off. He would just still give me money, you know, just to top up. And then I would just use it. So I was not even saying anything. I didn't even ask him for money anyway. So he was just giving me, oh, Shay, you need some more money? And I said, yes, Dad. Yep. He didn't ask me any more questions. And then I had to use that money to replace everything that my uncle was taking. But yeah, so let me backtrack a little bit. When he had caught my first true love underneath the bed, what had happened was my first true love was naked, but he had on his boxers. He had to get himself dressed up back again, and then he had to do his walk of shame out of the house to go. He left that same night, and I was just devastated because it was the weekend. I hadn't seen him for that whole week, and then I wanted to see him. So that's just all was going through my head at the time, until reality hit in the next day when I was like, my uncle caught me, kind of thing. I think I was intoxicated that day as well. I was drinking, yeah, because that my dad was on tour, and majority of my family members, they weren't around as much, but they had came back in the nighttime. So at this time I was drinking, but I was somewhat sober enough where I knew what I was doing, basically. But yeah, so anyways, now I moved back to my guardian in Christiana, Jamaica. I'm still in grade 9 and I am still 15 years old. Things were still on the go-go with my mom. She had gone back to the UK and everything, and still on the go with filing for both my brother and I. I was still going through the motions. I was still doing what I'm doing, but this time it was just secretive. Yes, because of course, both myself and my first true love, our love got intensified. It grew immensely, and it grew, and it was intense. Yes, we were truly in love with each other, to the point where nothing else mattered. We didn't care. Even if anybody wanted to tell on us, or anybody wanted to, you know, say whatever they wanted to say, we did not care. We were that much in tune with each other. Yeah, so it didn't really matter. Again, at this point, I told you that my grades was just deteriorating because I was not concentrating. There was just lots of things that was going on in my mental state, that I was using my first true love as my comforter. He was my comforter at that time. I sought him out for everything, and he was at my beck and call. Like anything I needed, he was there. No matter where he is, if he's in Kingston, if he's in Montego Bay, because again, remember, his line of work that he was in at the time was causing him to be moving up and down. If he's in Kingston, if he's in Montego Bay, Negril, wherever he was, if I call him, best believe he's there. Yes, because he knew the extent of how my families were treating me at that time. He literally stepped in like the man he is, gave me that comfort that I need. Like, I didn't have to ask him for nothing, and he just provided it. Everything I needed, he provided. Love, care, attention, everything. You know, even when I'm getting irritated on him, he's always patient with me. And mind you, this man is a gangster. Nobody can talk to him a certain way. He's very rude. But for me, he had that soft spot. And that's what made me tone down majority of the time with him. Because I was like, you know, I'm always like aggressive. But I was taking out my anger that I was getting from my families on him some of the time. But he remained so patient with me. Yes. Anyway, so of course he would come still pick me up from school. So the routine still continued. He would still come pick me up from school, which made it more easier because now I didn't have to worry about my little siblings anymore to be picking them up. So it was just only me now. So all I had to do was just do the regular thing where I get picked up during the school hours and then get dropped off back before dismissal, and then no one would understand what I'm doing, you know? So remember as well about that same situation with the 50 grand where my dad said that I stole, or accused me that I stole 50,000 Jamaican dollars from his business. So I still had to go down to my dad's business place every weekend, irrespective of me living with my guardian now. So I still had to do that. And I was still going down there, still doing what I need to be doing, as well as, of course, seeing my first true love. And that was one of the main reason that enticed me to go down there now, because at this point I didn't even want to go down there anymore because of that scenario, but because I wanted to see my first true love. Every chance I get, I was willing to go, you know. 2 months now, but it had somewhat died down, but it was still that lingering thing, you know, where people think you are a thief and then they would still have that little, you know, that little chitter chatter, you know what I mean? So it was just like, and I have to be defending my case all the time and bringing it up just to, you know, plead my case. So my dad now had some other people that he had coming into the shop to work in it as well, whilst I was at school in the weekdays. So sometimes those same people would stem over into the weekend, because remember, I would come now and I would take over on the weekends. That person would always stem over into the weekend as well. And this was one of my stepmom's other sisters. So I'm not talking about the one that liked to inform on me, no. This was another sister of my stepmom. So she was in there, but she had a daughter. She had a daughter who was somewhat the same age as I am, maybe 1 or 2 years younger than I was. But nonetheless, we were still in the same age bracket, the same age group. So at the time, if I was 15, then she would be 13 or 14, because I think she was 1 or 2 years younger than I was. I don't remember, but definitely she was younger than I was. But so she was now the one who introduced me to girl on girl sex. Yes, you heard me right. She was the one who introduced me to same-sex relation. Yes. And remember, this now is like foreign to me, because I'm always used to men. Like, to be on girl in those times was like taboo. It's not like now where it's prevalent and everybody is doing their own thing and, you know, causing themselves to be sinning and all of that. Like, at that time it was very taboo, so you had to keep that under the hush hush. But it was something that clearly she was exposed to by wherever she was coming from, and so she introduced me to that. So that's the first time I would be introduced to the girl on girl sex. It was one weekend I was spending that weekend over my dad, and even though her mother was in the shop, so that's my stepmom's sister. So my stepmom's sister's daughter was staying in the boarding quarters with me as well. So one night, everyone, so including my dad, all of them, they went out to this party. So obviously, because both of us are young, they're not going to take us to the party. So remember, my dad would always go to party with everyone else, including my brothers, even though my brother was still a minor in that sense. But you know how men are with the boys. They would rather take out the boys to do certain things, but not the girls. So my dad was very protective of his girl children. So my dad would not take me anywhere where, as it relates to party, I would have to stay home, even if it means staying by myself over the boarding quarters, because you know that the yard man was there anyway, so he knows that I'm not entirely by myself. She was there, so my stepmom's other sister's daughter, who introduced me to girl and girl. So they would always go to parties to promote their own parties. So it would call like a round robin. So if anyone is familiar with different parties in Jamaica, if you're throwing or keeping your party, you would want to go to other parties and then bring your banners to promote your party, but then you would be supporting that party so that they can come to your party to support your party. So that's what they had to be doing whenever my dad is promoting a event that he's gonna be keeping and so forth. So of course he left me and the young lady by ourselves. So they left us at the house because of course there is just innocent. It's just two girls who were families in a sense, in-laws in a sense, you know. So yeah, so stay tuned for volume 10 part 2. Thank you.